Good day, everyone, and welcome to this episode of Chatting with the Lightkeeper. I'm Edward, and I hope wherever you are listening, your week, your month, and your year are going fantastic. So, it wasn't that long ago that, well, I think it was probably last week's podcast, because I'm thinking back, and I haven't had any out loud conversations, text-based conversations with some of my friends who are either involved in the lifestyle or what I like to call vanilla extract, meaning they are vanilla but accepting of the lifestyle. And I haven't had any in-person conversations with those folks. So for some reason, I'm remembering having a conversation about movies that highlight or the lifestyle's a part of. So it has to be here on the podcast that I rambled about it at some point. And that got me thinking about good movies that, well, not necessarily good. I guess it's all subjective, whether they're good or not. But movies that deal with the lifestyle. And if you didn't know, here's a refresher. The Secretary is my favorite movie that has the lifestyle as a part of it. Yes, it has a character named Mr. Gray, but it's not that Mr. Gray. It's played by James Spader, which I do enjoy him as an actor. I have since it was 16 Candles, I believe, because he would have been Blaine's friend. I don't know. Somebody who knows the Molly Ringwald teen movies of the 80s could probably correct me on that. But anyway, he's been a favorite actor, and what I really like about The Secretary is that it deals more with the mental side than sort of sensationalizing the physical aspects of DS, which so many movies do. They seem to really latch on to the physical side, which is, hey, if that's what you're digging, that's awesome. For me, the physical side is just the kind of the icing on the wonderful cake that's the kinky cake of life. It's great, it's fun, it's awesome, but there's so much more, and it's so much deeper than just that. So for me, the Secretary, because of that's a big part of it, is my favorite kind of kink-related movie. And I am curious, what do you think? What movie out there did you find that was, had kink as a part of it that you enjoyed? So at the end of the podcast, wherever you're listening, you can scroll down and, somewhere there's a little, send feedback or, send a note or however they phrase it, wherever you listen. Send me some feedback. I would love to know what your favorite kinktastic movie is. And if you really don't know of any that are out there, other than the infamous 50 Shades series, and that can be your favorite too. While we're talking 50 Shades, I just have to throw this out there because so many people in the lifestyle and in the community will put down and say mean and nasty things about all the 50 Shades movies. And there's a lot of things that you can say mean and nasty things about and how it portrays the lifestyle and the characters and all of that. Yes, there's a lot to criticize with the 50 Shades. But there's also something that, if you're involved in the lifestyle, that you should love about the 50 Shades movies, and that is how many people it has brought to explore the lifestyle. Now, not everybody who's explored has stayed, but the 50 Shades movies brought in lots of new people, and lots of new people are fantastic. Plus, even for the people that didn't find 50 Shades to be their cup of tea or something they wanted to explore, it really went a long way of making the lifestyle much more mainstream, taking away some of the taboo. Yes, in some places and in some people's minds, it is still a very, very naughty thing to be involved in. But 50 Shades helped normalize it. So there is some good things about the 50 Shades series. So next time you go to criticize, 50 Shades, please understand that there were and are benefits that it still continues to this day to bring to the lifestyle. And so, if the only two movies now that you know that have kink in them are The Secretary, because I've talked about it here, and 50 Shades, because you can't escape 50 Shades whenever you go to Google to look up something kinky, somehow something 50 Shades related will come up in that search. It never fails. But I'm going to try and go in somewhat of an alphabetical order. There's 9.5 Weeks. It came out in 1986. I know I've seen it, and I believe it had Kim Basinger in it. And that's all I can remember, other than it was from the 80s, and at least back then, Kim Basinger was somebody that adorned a lot of posters and such, was a real, what is the right word there? I don't know, somebody that was poster worthy for teenage boys back then. I'm not sure. Anyways, there's 9.5 Weeks. There's Addicted to Love from 1997. I admit I haven't seen it, but I am told that it does factor the lifestyle into it. There's Bound, which is a 1996 vintage as well. Once again, I know I've seen it. I don't remember it. There's Bella de Jour from 1967, which I have seen. I do enjoy it. So there's that one. It's older, but it's good. And then I wish I had a good English accent, but there's a movie called The Duke of Burgundy from 2014, which also involves the lifestyle. I just wish I could say Burgundy with a nice English accent or sound like Ron Burgundy when it is said. There's Eyes Wide Shut, where you get to see Tom Cruise and Nicole Kidman run around in sort of kind of the lifestyle. Not really, but I don't know, it always struck me as a weird movie. It had its stimulating moments, but it seemed weird. There was, of course, 50 Shades, since we're doing this like in some sort of alphabetical thing. And then there's The Piano Teacher from 2001, which I know I saw, and I saw it in a theater because I remember taking a date who was vanilla, and that's all I remember is just kind of like some of it feeling awkward because it was a vanilla date and the lifestyle was a part of the movie. And then there is The Story of O, which is a 1975 vintage, and highly recommend the book over the movie. But if you're a movie person, don't pass it up. So those are some of the movies that are out there. There are more. There are many more. And of course, if you want to include the genre of pornography, there's plenty of good old-fashioned lifestyle porn that exist for whatever floats your boat that way. But, we're not going to have a porn title discussion, although some porn titles are absolutely fantastic how they sort of spoof regular movies or other things going on in regular pop culture that are just classics, but just regular non-porn lifestyle films. There are a few there to start with, and maybe have a kinky movie night and invite some friends over and settle in for some movies that deal with the lifestyle. And since I was thinking of good lifestyle movies, my mind naturally, in the way it drifts and pops around, floated back to all those wonderful posts that exist on social media saying, a good submissive does this, a good dominant will do that, a bad dom does this, a naughty switch does that, and all these little ditties that are out there about what is a good or a bad dom sub switch, which I know I've talked about on the podcast, and if you listen regularly, it's a subject that comes up. And then I thought about it. I don't think I've ever sat down and said what, for me, are signs of a bad lifestyle partner or a good lifestyle partner. And when I sat down to do this, I thought I am going to take the role specifics away and just make it about partners who, in the lifestyle, have in this case, we're going to start with the bad and the ugly before we get to the good and great. So, just looking at as a standpoint of general badness or general greatness. So that's the way I decided to come to it. I really wanted to limit it. I tried to, in my mind, I am, speaking of films, a James Bond fan. I enjoy the Bond movies. I know that they are silly, and one of my favorite flaws in any movie, because every movie has something that goes wrong with it. Like, I know there's a John Wayne cowboy movie out there where you can see the contrails of a jet flying over. Now, does that make John Wayne gay? Since, contrails supposedly cause, the conspiracy theorists are pushing that one. So just wondering on that one. But there's always something like goofy in a movie where you can pick up on something that isn't supposed to be that way, but they don't edit it out. And in the Bond movie Goldfinger, which is a Sean Connery Bond movie, he is driving his little Aston Martin sports car through this little alleyway, and in order to fit through the alleyway, it has to go up on its side, so like two wheels are on the wall of the alley and the other two wheels are on the pavement of the alley. And it goes in, I believe, with its left side up in the air, and then when it comes out, it's the right side that's up in the air. But, there was no place in this super narrow alleyway for the car to change positions. So it's just one of those little things that crack me up whenever I see Goldfinger on, and I see that scene, and it just cracks me up. And if you know it's coming and you know to look for it, you'll be amazed at how you didn't know that faux pas existed until you are clued into it. So, since I guess that's kind of a bad moment in the Bond films that I like, let's start with some of the things that are out there that highlight warning signs, things to be wary of in a partner in the lifestyle. And it doesn't matter their role, or if they're just kind of a casual player, or if they are, if it's something serious, if you're looking for just a friend with kinky benefits, or if you are looking for a lasting lifestyle partnership. These are all things to be wary of. And they're in no particular order. I didn't try to rank them from better to worst, or best to better, or good to great. They're just sort of randomized in order. So we talk so much about communication in a lifestyle. So communication is critical, and a partner who is not the greatest will have trouble talking about their needs, their desires, their boundaries. And so being able to communicate with your partner or with the potential partner, and sometimes poor communication just doesn't mean the person is a bad communicator. It just means the way that you communicate and the way they communicate may not click. So communication, or the lack thereof, would be a sign of something to be wary of and to watch out for. This one happens to roughly 20% of the people in the lifestyle within their first 5 years or so of coming to the lifestyle and hanging out and exploring it. And that is, they find a partner, whether it's a play partner or someone who is a more serious partner. Unfortunately, I can remember an amazing friend of mine sharing with me how they were exploring the lifestyle with their then husband, and their then husband did this, which immediately actually led to a divorce, believe it or not, which I thought was an amazing show of strength by this person. But a person may disregard your consent, and consent is, it's a pillar, it's a foundation of BDSM. You can't do it without consent. Thankfully, the consent violation that my friend experienced was not traumatic. However, the fact that their husband, and they'd been married for quite a while, they were, I guess you could say, later in life arrivals to the lifestyle, but that disregarding their consent, disregarding their safe word use, it ended up being the straw that broke their marriage's back. And so stay away from anybody who disregards your consent, or there are people you will meet in this lifestyle who you will say they don't believe in safe words, safe gestures, and what the dominant says is what goes, and there's no, consent is a one-way street. It's the dominant saying and the submissive person doing. And no, that's a, sign of a horrible partner, one to avoid. Another one is somebody who ignores aftercare. Now, I do have a caveat. If you are ignoring aftercare or feel that your aftercare needs were ignored, but you are just playing with a casual friend and you didn't negotiate the specifics of what you need in aftercare, then it's not meaning that they're a bad partner. It just, in a casual playship rather than a relationship, a playship, aftercare is something that needs to be negotiated with the same detail and intensity as the actual play. But if you are in a relationship or building to a relationship with somebody and they don't take aftercare seriously, or they dismiss or are neglectful, anything where they do not put all their oomph into the aftercare, that is a sign of a potential or bad partner. Another thing that kind of goes right along with the foundation of consent, and that's being respectful. And this one crosses over into the vanilla world all the time. We have friends who date and they end up dating a total idiot who is disrespectful to our friends. And even in the lifestyle, we run into people who are disrespectful asshats. So anyone who is unable to be respectful is a bad partner, and they need to hit the road, Jack. I wish there wasn't copyright laws so we could have a little Ray Charles playing in the background. But since there are, we can't channel Ray Charles in, and you certainly don't want to hear me sing Ray Charles of all people, or me sing anybody at any time. I mean, I used to sing in the car, and with my dog, she would, like, looking back at one of the memories of my dog that I love is singing in the car and looking over at her, and she would look at me like, really? Can't we just listen to the radio? I have to listen to this while we're riding. So it always makes me chuckle. But anyway, disrespectful is a sign to, dump the chump, regardless of their role, because submissive switches can be disrespectful just like dominants. There's no separation of role on disrespectfulness. In another area that is a surefire sign of a bad person is somebody who is abusive, emotionally, physically, or both. And once again, abuse does not have to be... I know we typically think of abuse as being from the dominant to the submissive, or like a switch who is taking the dominant role in the relationship and thus abusing from their position of dominance. And yes, that is true in most cases, but there are instances where submissives can be abusive, just like their dominant cousins. And so don't just think that the being aware of or being on the lookout for signs of that somebody may be abusive is just something that a submissive needs to be aware of and look out for from a potential dominant. It is something that everyone, regardless of their role, needs to be aware of, tuned in for, and look for the signs of it. And if you're going to get into a relationship and you're kind of doing that digging through somebody's past, one of the beautiful things about Google, and at least here in the United States, all of our court records are public knowledge, so you can see whether somebody might have a criminal history in the abusive category. And it's always something good to look for and to check. And we talked about the importance of consent and people who disregard consent. There's another way to look at that too, and it's just somebody who continuously tries to step outside of your boundaries. Not crossing them to cross them like somebody who is trying to disregard your consent, but they're always pushing your boundaries, and they always push a little too far. That's a huge red flag and a warning that that if you let them cross that state line, then the next time they'll cross it even further and further and further until you end up in a very unsafe and unhealthy, potentially abusive place. So the final one is somebody in the lifestyle, and once again, this applies to submissives just as much as dominants, even though it's something that I think most of you will think of pertains to dominance, but it really pertains to across the board to everybody, and that is somebody who has a very poor understanding of how to be safer in the lifestyle. The lifestyle is not a completely safe thing. Nothing in life is safe. I mean, standing waiting for, the bus is not completely safe. You could slip off the curb and fall in front of the bus that you are waiting to get on. Or, driving to dinner, you could get hit in an accident. There is nothing we do without risk. And in the lifestyle, because that some of our play can be from, can lead to situations that can be dangerous, that we need to be safety conscious. And somebody who does not safety conscious is not educating themselves about how to do things safely or what procedures should be in place if you're going to do X, Y, and Z. That is somebody to avoid and is a bad lifestyle partner. Now, the good news is I was able to list just 7 bad warning signs. The good news is that was number 7. So we are now on to what makes great partners or good partners in the lifestyle. And unfortunately, if any of you are like sitting there going bored and listening to us, first of all, it's a podcast. If you're bored, you can turn it off. You don't have to keep listening to me. Why not? The good news, though, is since it's good things, we have a few more to get through rather than just 7. So a good partner in the lifestyle, once again, regardless, doesn't matter your role, a good partner is going to love to communicate with you. They are going to be effective in how they communicate with you. They are going to be able to express their desires, their limits, their boundaries, and they're going to be able to do this all in a way that either you understand or you communicate well enough to say, hey, I didn't get that. I didn't really get what you mean. Can you try telling me again? You have great communication with this person, and that's something that really helps make a good partnership. Another big thing, and it truly is, because in today's world, this seems to be something that is fading away. And I don't know what it is about us humans, but we shouldn't be, but for whatever reason, being able to show empathy is something that across not just lifestyle, I mean, it's across the board in life all around the world. We are, as humans, doing a piss poor job of being empathetic to people. But a good partner is going to, be able to you know what I mean. Be able to connect and share how you feel. They'll want to understand your emotions, though not just the good ones. They will want to be there and work with you through the bad times. And being able to have empathy is going to really help the negotiation side when you're talking through what you need, what you want, or even just setting up a little fun play scene. Being able to being able to have empathy will go a long way with it. I don't know why that's a hard word to get out today. And no, I have not been drinking. I am just drinking my water with lemon. It's what I drink every day after I put the coffee away a little afternoon. So, I don't know why I'm struggling with empathy. Maybe I'm one of those bad humans that struggle with empathy now. And then for me, it's just the pronunciation of it, not necessarily being empathetic. So, that's there. Another big thing that a good partner in the lifestyle has to do is be versatile. And by versatile, I mean being able to adapt. We don't live in a place called Kinklandia where it's okay to wear your I Heart BDSM t-shirt and take your submissive partner for a walk while they are wearing their collar and you have a leash attached to it. I mean, you can. I suppose you can do that wherever, but if we lived in Kinklandia, it would be just seen as acceptable. Unfortunately, where most of us live, we don't have the ability to just walk around and openly share our kinks, our desires, and there's nothing wrong with that. And part of being able to adapt is being able to adapt to how the vanilla world intrudes upon our lifestyle and being versatile enough to adapt, change course, to be able to keep the DS flowing in the relationship and keep it balanced with what's happening in our life around us. So that's a sign of a great DS partner, is somebody who is versatile and they are willing to adapt to the situation. Because many of us like to talk about living the lifestyle 24/7, and in a way we do, but it can be very hard. You can't go into the office wearing certain, fetish wear. Just probably wouldn't necessarily be the best office wardrobe, especially if you are professionally employed. It wouldn't quite fit for most places. So being able to adapt and find ways to live the lifestyle in a perhaps lifestyle not accepting world would be a great way to put it. Another thing that we have to be in this world of kink, and good partners are this, and that's self-aware. Now, I don't mean super self-assured. I don't mean self-confident to the point where you're cocky or arrogant. Many people somehow equate arrogance and cockiness with signs of dominance when it's technically not a sign of dominance, just a sign of ass-hattedness. But being self-aware, being able to understand what motivates you, or working on becoming more self-aware. I think self-awareness is a journey that we are on our entire lives. It never stops. So I don't think there's anybody out there who can say that they are entirely self-aware. And I think that it's also something that is going to be a journey. We are going to keep becoming more self-aware. And as human beings, we're always changing. So the minute we think we've figured out something about ourselves, we may change, and what we just thought we figured out is no longer valid, and we have to go back to the drawing board. So having self-awareness, working on our self-awareness, working to understand our desires, where our boundaries are, what motivates us, really is a sign of a good partner, because when it comes to the lifestyle, so much is psychological and emotional rather than just physical. So being able to work on our self-awareness, being able to work on trying to understand what makes us tick is so important to have in a good partner in this lifestyle. So there's that. And kind of, since we are always learning about ourselves, we always have to be learning about the lifestyle. Because, first of all, our safety depends upon it. We have to know what we're doing. If you are taking the dominant role in play, you have to know what you're doing. And submissives don't sit back and think, well, I'm a submissive, so I don't necessarily need to know that, that my daddy dom knows how to hit with a flogger. Yes, you have to understand that, because it's great that you trust the person that is going to do the impact play. In this case, it's wonderful. You have to have that to play with somebody. That is my belief and my opinion, that you have to be able to trust the person you're going to play with. There are people who play without trust, and that's a recipe for disaster. But anywho, it's great that you trust the person that you're going to play with, and you have to trust them. But you also have to know what the right ways are to do whatever you're going to be doing with them. Even if you're the one having it done to you, you have to know what those right ways, the safe ways, the safer ways are. Not, there are wrong ways to do things, and wrong ways hurt and can kill you. So it's important that even if doing it isn't your jam, you understand how it should be done safely or saferly. So there's always learning, and the lifestyle is always changing. So you have to have a commitment to not only learning about yourself, but learning about the lifestyle. And in a lifestyle partnership, one of the great things is you learn together. You're learning together about each other and yourself, and also exploring and learning about the lifestyle together. It's one of those great things where the lifestyle can really help maintain a relationship, because that I think is the hardest part of relationships is once you get over the, okay, I like them, they like me, we're going out, we're moving forward, is to continue to keep that, to keep that spark of desire going between the people involved in the relationship. And the sharing of knowledge and learning together is a great way to do that. And of course, we have trust. Trust is, you really can't do anything in this lifestyle without trust. I guess you can. Let me rephrase that. You certainly can, but it's not a good idea, because if you don't trust the person or they don't trust you, then you're setting yourself to be in a very dangerous situation, no matter your role. So trust. It's crucial. You have to be able to communicate, and you have to be able to trust, and you can't build intimacy without trust. Heck, that's what we talked about last week on the podcast. So yeah, trust, it's got to be there. And we have kind of it's very similar but different depending on your role, but you have to be able to respect your partner's role. You have to, if you're dominant, you have to respect that your partner has offered you the gift of their submission. And if you are a submissive, you have to understand that part of what you are, when you are giving submission, is you are also willing to be obedient to your dominant. And this is one of those touchy things about DS, especially in long-term DS relationships, because there will be times when the dominant doesn't want to lead, where it's going to feel like work. And if you are newer to the lifestyle, that probably isn't what you want to hear. But there are times relationships are work. So there are times when the dominant isn't going to want to work at being a dominant, isn't going to want to make a choice for the submissive or do whatever it is that however they lead. They will be at a place where they just, it's work and I don't, the alarm goes off and I don't want to do it today. And the same thing of submissives. There'll be days the submissive wakes up and says, I do not want to do what my dominant says today. I just do not. I don't want to be told what to do or what I should do or how to, and those are the days when the lifestyle is going to cause you're going to have to respect the commitments that you have made to your partner and just suck it up, buttercup, and do what you need to do for and with your partner. So, yeah, you have to respect the lifestyle. And in a way that kind of goes to embracing your role. You have to embrace whatever it is. You have to embrace it. Whether you're a dominant, you have to embrace it, especially on those days when you don't want to do it. You need to embrace and suck it up and do it. Same with submissives. Embrace the role you've chosen, especially on a day where it's a challenge, which kind of leads me to Abraham Lincoln saying, which he credits being passed on to him from his father. And the saying goes, and I apologize if there is another history nerd out there, and I goofed this up because I am just going from memory here. But it says, if you make a bad decision, you need to hug it even tighter. And what that means is not that if you know you have made a bad decision, that you have to stand by it and continue to let that bad decision either haunt you or the mistakes that it cost you keep piling up because you are unwilling to change your mind. It doesn't mean you're hard-headed, and that, or in this case, if you won't change your mind, lunk-headed, but that you are dedicated to the choices that you've made. Okay, I've made a bad choice. I realize I've made a bad choice. I need to change, I need to correct my course because I've made bad decisions. So you correct your course, but you're still going to hug that bad choice tighter, meaning you're going to learn from it. You're going to kind of squeeze the knowledge out of it. So in this lifestyle, there will be times when you need to embrace your role and you need to hold tight to those bad choices because we need to learn their lessons. So those are all kind of linked together. Another sign of a great partner is somebody who has emotional intelligence. And by that, it means they're aware, kind of going to that self-awareness, but they know their needs, wants, and they can express them. they can talk to their partner about what they need, what they want, and also their emotions, how they're feeling. And this kind of flies a little bit into the face of that myth, especially about dominance. On the dominant side of things, that dominants don't show their vulnerability. We don't show how we feel. We are, kind of, I don't know, we're stoic. We never express what we're thinking. We just keep this strong mentality there, and that's not the case. We, as dominants, we need to have good emotional intelligence, and we need to share how we're feeling, our needs, our wants with our loving submissive partner or submissive play partner, depending on where you're at. And it sort of, I don't know, it reminds me of one of my favorite podcasts from back in the day. I don't believe that they are still doing it, but it was called Glass Case of Emotion. For those of you who don't know me well, I used to be involved in automobile racing, and the Glass Case of Emotion is a podcast that used to be done by an American stock car driver called Ryan Blaney. And it was fantastic because, yes, they would talk racing, but I think there was an episode where they talked about their favorite kids' toys. And it just, it was a great thing that I enjoyed. Anyway, being able to be emotionally intelligent is a sign of a great partner. And of course, we talked about how consent is crucial in this lifestyle, and how somebody who doesn't respect consent is a horrible partner. So a good partner is going to care about consent, probably go a little overboard on the consenting side, especially in the beginning of a partnership, just to make sure everything's good. And they're also going to care about safety, and safety is not, remember, it's not just up to the dominant. A submissive, to give consent, they have to understand the safety ramifications of what they're consenting to. So it's very much a double-edged sword that affects both sides of the slash, or, if you're a switch, whatever side of the slash you are on with that partner. So consent and safety, somebody who prioritizes it, values it, loves it, is a sign of a great partner. And being reliable, this sounds probably a little more vanilla than kinky, but you have to be a partner to your partner, regardless of whether you would say, just your relationship involves some kinky play, but you're not really in the lifestyle, or you are a full-blown, really in deep lifestyle relationship. You have to be reliable and be a partner for your partner. If you can't be a partner to your partner and be reliable and be there for them, your relationship is doomed. No matter how awesome the benefits of that relationship may be, if you're not a reliable partner, the other person will eventually fade away. And finally, the last one I have on my list is that we, in the lifestyle, a good lifestyle partner, is going to be creative. And they are also going to be kind of like, I don't know, the Vikings, and they're going to be wanting to go off and explore, minus the whole raiding and pillaging thing the Vikings are kind of known for. But the exploring, setting off to maybe Star Trek would be a better example, to find brave new worlds. I think that was a Star Trek thing. Sorry, I am a nerd, but not a science one, so I may have confused the Star Wars, Star Trek thing, which I know is a huge sin to some people, so my apologies if I did goof that up. But when I say creativity, we have to be creative with our partners to be a good partner. I'm not saying that you need to be able to sit down at a piano and bang out a concerto that would rival something that Mozart would put out. Not at all. Or sit down and paint them a picture like a famous artist would. No. Or be able to do some sort of sculpture. Just make sure that it's not a naked David sculpture if you live in Florida, because that would be pornography. Can't have that in Florida. Sorry. Anyway, you have to be creative, which by creative it just means being creative, especially when it comes to playtime. Be creative with how you do things. Don't let it be repetitive, because even though things are kinky, they can fall into, while play is kinktastic, it can fall into a routine. So you have to be creative to keep things fresh. And by exploring, we try new things, and that's part of the lifestyle. I know I've said it before, but when you come to this lifestyle, you will have things that are on your, well, maybe with the right partner, I would consider that. And then you have some things that are over here on another list that is, oh, hell no, it's never happening. And for most people, they will experience things, and as they grow and experience those things that were, well, maybe with the right partner, they turn into, yeah, I want to try that. I don't necessarily know if I need the right partner, but I want to try that. And then there are things that are on that I'm never going to do list that change to, if I had the right partner, I would be open to exploring that with somebody. And sometimes things that were on that I'm never going to do it list are things that turn into, yeah, I want to try that. And when you explore and try them, they might even turn into, I want to do it again things. So it's important to be creative and be exploring. And when you are looking for or trying to be a great partner. So that is my list of things that I put together on good and bad partners in the lifestyle. I know it's not as hokey as those memes you see on your favorite social media site that talk about the lifestyle, and it's not filled with all those wonderful bits of great advice like, all dominants must have a beard. No, we don't. Or all dominants must do, or a real submissive will. Those are all just kind of junky things. But I challenge you to think of what for you are signs of a good person in the lifestyle, a good lifestyle partner. And that partnership kind of varies by what you are looking for in the lifestyle, but it's very much an individual thing. I mean, we shouldn't rely on posts on the internet, and really we shouldn't rely on what some guy on a podcast says, even this guy, or a YouTube video. It's all individual, so we all have to kind of put in the work, find out what works for us, what doesn't work for us, and as we get to know people in the lifestyle, find out and discuss some of their not so good experiences so we can learn from them rather than repeat them and have our own learning experiences. We can learn without the pain, if you will. So find what works for you. Find what doesn't work for you, and don't be ashamed to talk about it, because the more we talk about what is good, the more it will inspire more conversations about being good. And if we do have a bad experience, it can be hard to talk about, but talking about them does help others so that they may not have to repeat some of the same lessons that we've learned going through life and the lifestyle. So anyway, that is my list. I've done it. I've gone out and made my list. I've checked it twice. Let me know what you think of it and what you would add to it, what you would subtract to it, because I'm certain that it doesn't fit for everyone or anyone. And the other thing I would love to hear from you about is, what is your favorite movie that features the lifestyle, whether it's just maybe a naughty scene that is perhaps kinky, or the movie has kink flowing as an undercurrent or a major part of the plot. I would love to know, when you sit down for a kinky movie night, not porn, what it is that your favorite kinktastic movie is. So please take a second, reach out, and let me know what movie you watch and why. The why is, I'm just curious, so the why is important to me. But if you don't want to share it, you don't have to. And no matter where you listen, don't forget to click that follow button so you never miss an episode. And I look forward to chatting with you next week. Have a great week, everyone.